Hello, you are listening to Disney Travel Tales, episode number 40. I cannot believe I'm already on episode number 40. I am so happy that I have been able to do this for 40 episodes. This is a space where you can escape the real world and immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and today I'm doing a quick episode all about Genie Plus. I really hope this is a great resource for anyone traveling to the parks to use. It's going to be a very quick listen. Speaking of traveling to the parks, is that something you're wanting to do this year or even next year? I know Disney vacations can be a bucket list vacation for families, and I want to help you make your vacation magical. Check the show notes for a form to fill out where I ask some basic questions just so I can get you the perfect quote. Most people don't realize this, but Disney builds in a fee for travel agents if you're using one or not. If you just go to the Disney website and book your own trip, you're still paying that fee and not getting any of the benefits. So take advantage of all of my services and let me do all the hard work and planning so you can just sit back and enjoy your vacation. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I absolutely love doing this show, and the best way to support me is to leave a positive review. Okay, so let's get going. Imagine yourself waking up early to get that one Genie Plus reservation that you really want, and let's go. Okay, so here is a step-by-step Genie Plus guide. The first thing you're going to want to do is to set up your My Genie Day in your app. This allows you to put the rides you want most at the top of your Genie Plus list. You can do this whenever. You can plan ahead and do this while you're still at home waiting for your trip. It's super easy to do. The second step you're going to do is at 6:55 a.m. the morning of your park visit, select My Genie Day in the My Disney Experience app and hit the top board tab. You're going to keep refreshing this until 7 a.m. hits and the rides load. Once the rides load, you're going to book your first choice as fast as you can. Different rides at different parks go quickly, and I'm going to break those down later in this episode just so you know which ones are kind of the most popular ones at each park right now. I know this is absolutely subject to change, but this is right now. If you're wanting to purchase an individual lightning lane, you can also purchase those at 7 a.m. Now, if you have someone else in your party that's with you that can help with this, that's going to be very helpful. You can have one person do the paid lightning lane and the other person just do your regular Genie Plus lane. For paid lightning lanes, on-site guests can make those at 7 a.m. Off-site guests, they can't make those until the park opens. So that is something really important to remember, especially if you're an off-site guest. Now, off-site guests get to make their Genie Plus selections at the same time that on-site guests do at 7 a.m. It's only when purchasing the individual lightning lane that they have to wait until the park opens to do. Okay, so when I went on my trip, I was the only one that could manage Genie Plus, and I always chose to do the paid option first. And then after I got my paid option and picked my time that I wanted, I went ahead and did my regular Genie Plus ride. Now, of course, at certain parks, I might have done this differently. Like at Hollywood Studios, I probably would have grabbed Slinky Dog first because that is the most popular ride in all of the parks. So I would have grabbed that first and then done my paid option. At the other parks, I went ahead and did my paid option first and then chose my regular Genie Plus option afterwards. Okay, so some basic Genie Plus tips. It's kind of on a first come, first served basis, so you need to be very flexible with the times that you are wanting. When you get on, if you see a time that you don't want, just keep refreshing your app and a new time might pop up. For some of the less popular rides, if you're wanting a later time, just check it later. When you choose a time, you're getting an hour window. You have a whole hour to get over to that ride and check in. Now make sure you get there in that hour because if you don't, they don't have to let you in. At that point, it's really going to be up to the cast member if they're going to allow you to come in or not. So the best thing to do is just make sure that you're going to be able to get there in that 1 hour window. Oh, and with the individual lightning lanes, you get to select whatever time is available that you want. So when I went and I bought Flight of Passage, there were options early in the morning, but I went ahead and chose one later in the day because I knew we were going to be park hopping. Oh, and that's another tip. You can buy lightning lanes and do Genie Pluses for the park that you plan to park hop to later. Okay, so let's talk about making multiple Genie Plus selections. So after you have your first selection, you're feeling good. You're like, yeah, I did it. I got my first selection. Now what? Okay, so you can make your next selection in 2 ways. The first one is after you check into that ride. So if you check into that ride, after you go through the second check-in, most rides will have 2 check-ins that you need to check into. Then you can go ahead and make your next Genie Plus selection. Now, if your time is for later in the day, then you can make your next Genie Plus selection 2 hours after the park opens. You can only book 1 Genie Plus attraction at a time. However, you can have overlapping times. So there could be an instance where you have 3 Genie Plus lanes ready to go before you've even rode on one. That would be if you make your selection at 7 a.m., if you have a paid lightning lane, and then you make your next selection 2 hours after the park opens if the park opens at 9, let's say 11 a.m. And then you can also make it 2 hours after that. So at 1 p.m., you can make your next selection. So you technically could have 4 lined up. The best advice I can give you to utilize Genie Plus to the absolute fullest is after you've checked into your ride, after you get through that second check-in, make your next lightning lane. I made lightning lanes for rides that people would be like, I'd never make a lightning lane for that because there's never a line. But guess what? You never know what could happen to a ride. You never know if there's going to be a line, if the ride breaks down, anything like that. So just go ahead and make your lightning lanes. You will be amazed at how many rides you will be able to get done and not have to stand in line. Now, if the parks are extremely busy, you might not get as many rides done as someone who goes to the parks if it's less busy. But the thing is, the rides you will get to ride, you are not going to be standing in line for. These Genie Plus lanes, they go quickly. Okay, so let's talk about those rides that are most popular at the parks. Now, I'm only going to talk about the ones that are on the regular Genie Plus. Okay, at Magic Kingdom, they are Jungle Cruise and Peter Pan. These are going to go quickly. If you want to ride these rides, this should be your first Genie Plus that you are making for that day. At Epcot, it is Frozen Ever After and Test Track. Again, these go very quickly, so if you want to ride that, just go ahead and make it. Hollywood Studios is Slinky Dog. This is actually the most popular ride at all the parks on Genie Plus. You have to be very quick to get this ride. The good news is at Hollywood Studios, there are so many fun rides to ride. So if you don't get a lightning lane for Slinky Dog, you can always just stand in the standby lane and go ahead and grab a lightning lane for another ride that you love there. And at Animal Kingdom, it's Kilimanjaro Safaris and Navi River Journey. So again, these are the rides that you should prioritize at each park if you're interested in riding them. If you're not, don't worry about it. But if these are rides that you do want to ride, they typically have very long lines, so you're going to want to grab a lightning lane for it. Okay, so I went on Instagram and I asked people for their best Genie Plus tip, and I got a great tip. Now, this one actually hasn't been tested yet, but I think this is a really great tip that someone should go ahead and try and let me know. This tip is from user Tim and Audrey Ann on Instagram. And it says, this tip needs to be tested, so maybe I shouldn't share it yet. But if you will be using Rider Switch, you don't need to buy a lightning lane for your entire party. At least 2 people will get to go in the lightning lane with Rider Switch. This worked for Max Pass. We wouldn't buy it for our entire family. Haven't tested it yet in Disneyland with Genie Plus yet. We're going in a few weeks. But if it works, it has the potential to save some money. I think this is a great tip. Now at Disney World, when you do rider switch, you have to go ahead and stand in the line and go all the way to the front of the line, and then you do the rider switch. So technically, you would have to stand in the standby lane for the first party to at least get on, but then your second party could go ahead and get on without waiting in the standby line. So that is definitely an option. We used rider switch on a few rides when we went. I think it's awesome. It's great. And my boys got to ride the ride twice since me and my husband were the ones switching off. So thanks for that tip. I think that is a great tip. And I definitely think I would go ahead and try that one out before I went ahead and purchased the Lightning Lane. Okay, so I told you that was going to be short today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode is helpful to people who are traveling to the parks. For just a really quick listen, like a quick tutorial, I hope it really is very helpful to you. If you're traveling to Disney this summer and you want to come on the show and share your travel tale, let me know. Sharing your trip really is such a great keepsake to have. It will always be there for you to go back and listen to. I love listening to the podcast I did with my kids where we talked about our trips, hearing what they thought about our trips, even just the smallest details that I didn't even realize. It's so special, and I would love for you to share your travel tale with me and everyone else. I have a form that you can fill out, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Just check it in the show notes. It's there. Next week's show is going to be fun. My son Aiden is coming back on, and we're going to talk about SeaWorld. We're in Texas, and we have SeaWorld here, but there is also SeaWorld in Orlando, and it's close to Disney. So we're going to go ahead and break down what SeaWorld in Texas is like. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss a new episode. Until next time, this is Genie, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.